And speaking of the representation of the black delegation of Yellowstone, I am pissed.
Hi, everybody. I'm Marcy, and I'm in mourning as well.
And we are the Watchers in the Basements. We are back today talking about Yellowstone, episode 12, Counting Coup. And when Marcy texted me Sunday night while I was watching football, because I typically watch Sunday night football before I watch Yellowstone, she said, "Get ready to cry. Are you going? Let me know if you cry." And I'm thinking to myself, okay, it's gonna be a beautiful semi-ending to a character or a great scene. Nah, it wasn't. It wasn't a good cry, and my tears are anger. And one of our most beloved characters, not just on the ranch but on the whole show, is now gone. R.I.P. to my boy Colby. Um, I don't feel good about this, man. But you know what, Marcy? I'm gonna let you speak on this and tell me your thoughts about this death and whether or not this served any purpose for this upcoming series finale.
Yeah, I didn't see this one coming, right? Like they've been doing so much press around like the last part of this season for Yellowstone, and a lot of the actors are talking about how it's very emotional and how it's bittersweet and how most of them were happy with what like their characters ended up. Um, I was not expecting this, but obviously, whenever Carter is in the stall, they start to play like the tense music where you know something bad's about to happen. And you're like, oh shit, are they going to kill Carter? Like, Beth will not survive this. But no, they killed fan favorite Colby. I cried. I didn't cry for John. One, because I think we just knew that it was coming. We knew that Kevin Costner wasn't coming back, but this was so unexpected. Colby was so beloved. But also like that scene with Teeter at the beginning where, you know, they're just kind of talking in the morning before their days get started and he accidentally drops the L word, right? So you get like such a sweet moment between the two of them, and you know, Teeter's talking about how she has big plans. Um, and now those plans will have to not include Colby. That was sad. I cried, especially whenever Rip called Ryan to tell him, and you know, Jake's like, hey, what's going on? And Ryan's like, I just lost my best friend Jay, like nothing is all right. So that's when I broke down and cussed out Taylor Sheridan for doing this to us. I don't think it served a purpose. A lot of people on the Yellowstone, like social media, Instagram pages, were also heartbroken, crushed. They also said that they cried more over Colby than over John Dutton. Some people said it served a purpose of showing that ranching and being a cowboy is tough and it's dangerous. And yeah, I get that, but that's what the whole freaking show has been about for 5 seasons. We know that it's dangerous. We didn't need this death to paint that picture for us. So yeah, not loving that part, but it was done so beautifully by the actors. You could definitely tell the emotion that they had, really showed how each of the characters really felt about Colby. And he was just, you know, everybody loved him, and he is gone now.
Yeah, man, I have so many problems with this on so many different levels. Um, you killed the one black person on the whole fucking show. Like,
Yeah.
not on the ranch, not in the bunkhouse. Seemingly the whole city of Bozeman. I ain't seen that one black person outside of Kobe since I think there might have been an attorney in season 2 that was a black lady.
Yeah.
Or, man,
Yeah.
ain't no black people on the show. Yeah,
Mhm.
like he's and like not only, and he wasn't like a token black person. Like he was a one of the most popular characters in the bunkhouse. He had personality. You know, the when they introduced Teeter in season 4, the Teeter Kobe dynamic was for a show that has so much darkness and so much um gratuity as far as like just violence and like just unhappiness.
Yeah.
The glimmer of happiness, or the few glimmers of happiness, was Kobe and Teeter, and when
Yeah.
they're together, you know, from the cracking of the jokes, the ass busting of jokes and stuff to like their their odd love connection that developed the last couple of seasons. When you have glimmers of like happiness in a dark show like this, you can't just eliminate it just for the sake of eliminating it. Like it's one thing when like if it plays and serves purpose for the show.
Right.
There's 2 episodes left. there's a turf war over this ranch between an investment firm and the Duttons. You know what? Even as a black person, the only black person on the show, if Colby goes down a blaze of fire, gunfire, fighting market equities assassins, am I mad? Sure. Am I pissed off like I am today? No, because for the last season, they've been setting up this market equity showdown. If he's a casualty of war, I understand that. Come on, bro. Getting kicked in the chest by a fucking horse in a stable. Like, is this what we're doing, dog? Like this is when you Taylor and your writers, when you was in the writing room and you was writing out these last few episodes after Kevin Costner's departure, you said to yourself, you know what really will get the storyline going? If a nigga gets kicked in the chest by a horse. And it's gonna just serve the storyline. Like,
that's Little House on the Prairie type shit that like pulls at your heartstrings. Like Little House on the Prairie, what's good about doing that? Like making like really like heart-wrenching things happen. So yeah, I don't know why they did that. Like you said, like if he'd gone out in a blaze of glory, that would have been something different. You've got to remember that Colby survived that attack by Wade Morrow and his son, right? When he and his son were like whipping him and Teeter in the creek or the river. He survived that. He survived that hit whenever Garrett Randall had sent everybody to kill the Duttons, and they had those militia guys killing everybody or trying to kill everybody at the ranch. He survived that. Like you said, just to like be killed by getting kicked by a horse. Like I don't get it. Didn't love it. I also didn't feel like it moved the story forward a lot. Last week's episode moved the story forward a lot. This week's episode, a lot happened and it was very emotional, and you got to see like the acting range of everybody to be able to show that emotion about Colby, but it didn't really advance the storyline that much other than what we saw with just kind of Jamie at the beginning with the detectives and with just kind of Kayce at the end. But yeah, it was a lot of darkness. R.I.P. Colby. I was hoping that they would have some kind of like Colby and Teeter spinoff or something like that. That won't be able to happen. So I felt so bad whenever you just see it on Ryan's face that he's realizing that his best friend is gone. And then what I also don't want to see is when Jimmy finds out about it, right? Like he already had a hard time this episode finding out that John died. I wonder how he's going to feel finding out that Colby died as well. I think that's going to be tough for Jimmy.
Yeah, man. And for Taylor to have the gall to have all this fucking screen time in this episode after killing one of my favorite characters. Like, bro, you got a lot of gall, bro.
He did exactly what I expected him to do. I was thinking last week, I was like, I wonder if we're going to see Travis again. And I wonder if, and I think Taylor's probably going to have them show a scene where Travis finds out that John Dutton was killed. I don't know if like it was to be petty about it. I don't know like how much animosity there was behind the scenes between Taylor Sheridan and Kevin Costner, but I was like, I bet like there's a scene where Travis finds out about John dying, and he did. I was like, whenever I saw that scene, I was like, son of a bitch, he did what I expected him to do, which was having Rip call Travis and tell him that John Dutton died, and then he's the one that had to tell Jimmy about it and have like that emotional scene with Jimmy. So yeah, he did exactly what I was expecting him to do. So I guess good for you, Taylor Sheridan.
Yeah, I would took every opportunity to kind of stick it to Kevin Costner in that scene. I thought it was petty as fuck. It was so fucking petty and funny to me. But yeah. So moving forward, so now Colby's gone. They're trying to move past and trying to pick up the pieces after John's death. Rip is now putting together plans to try to sell off as much livestock possible to make as much money to pay off this real estate, this tax on the ranch without selling land. Land is the last resort. What are your thoughts on Rip's plan? And do you think that would be a better route than selling pieces of the land?
I mean, I don't know too much about inheritance taxes, thank goodness. But I still feel like the tax burden was going to be a lot, even if there was some kind of ease on the tax burden. I don't know if selling all your horses and your cattle might get you the money that you need. Maybe it will, but I definitely think it made Lloyd nervous when he was at the beginning, he was well, maybe Kayce or Rope will take over. And if they do, I'll stay. But after hearing Rip's plans and knowing how many of the horses, cattle he planned to sell, that's when he was hey, boss, are we going out of business? So hopefully it's a good plan. I don't know if it'll get you the money that you need. And then not only are you paying taxes, but then you also have to fight off market equities and the state of Montana now. So I don't know how much land you'll be able to save in the long run.
Well, it makes me wonder and pose this question. So we've heard now for the last season or so about this inheritance tax. How was John paying his inheritance tax prior?
From whenever his dad died and
that's
a good question. I don't know. I think they'd been doing well for a while until they weren't.
Yeah.
And then they were able to get some of the tax burden eased. So I don't know how, because at first they alluded to the ranch had been making money, but then it wasn't making money. And then it started making money again whenever they were buying those horses, I think in what was it, season 3 or season 4.
Yeah.
So I really don't know a lot about the economics of the Yellowstone Dutton Ranch. But they always made it, or Beth at least made it seem like it wasn't going to continue for much longer the way John was running things. And it was eventually going to run out of money.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely interesting to see how they're going to go about this. I mean, I know Rip in 2 episodes earlier was talking about how they need to evolve. So maybe they create some branding, I don't know, Dutton cattle or Dutton beef or Dutton saddles, branding the Dutton name and making money that way.
Just they've pretty much branded out Yellowstone everything. You see Yellowstone everything when you go to the store, and I make fun of it, but the Yellowstone beef sticks, the beef jerky, that's actually really good. So I can't make fun of it too much.
Absolutely. I want to talk about Jamie now. So this episode picks up right after Sarah Edwards' pretty much assassination at this point, and now the detectives are at his house and they're trying to pick up, piece together, why she was targeted. At first, it was classified as a carjacking, but the car was not broken into. Nothing was taken. Her purse was still on her. And Jamie, the detectives want to investigate this case as a targeted homicide. And they talk about going upstairs to get her things, or whatever. At this point, Jamie's not considered a suspect at all. Jamie kind of lies about the relationship, whatever, to detectives. They, based on Jamie's reaction, they kind of figure that there was a sexual relationship that transpired between the two. They try to go upstairs to confiscate some of her stuff as evidence, and Jamie just goes. He's like, "Nah, I'm not going to go up there. What's the reason? It's a carjacking, things of that nature." For Jamie, as smart as he is, attorney general, lawyer by trade, that guy, I've never seen a guy who is as decorated as he is intellectually cave under the pressure and show his poker face every fucking step of the way. When there's any type of drama, any type of like question going on, like his face just gives it away. And I'm like, bro, how was you able to stay protected under John for so long? I'm surprised he ain't fucking more things under John when John was alive.
Yeah, he has a terrible poker face. He has like no street smarts. He's pretty much like a punk ass bitch because they did like a Yellowstone marathon over Thanksgiving weekend, and that's what I pretty much spent my weekend doing, was rewatching, because I hadn't watched a lot of the episodes. We see it when he killed that reporter, right? Like he did it, he wasn't thinking about it, and then he kills her, and then he's like freaking out about it.
Right.
He just is a little punk ass bitch, and he acts without thinking, and then he's trying to fix it, and then he can't fix it. He's not going to like get very far with like whatever he's trying to cover up. Like, you're cooked, Jamie. Like, you are not going to be able to like hide whatever implication that you had. So yeah, poor Jamie. He's so stupid.
And then on top of that, so Jamie shreds the documents that Sarah had in her suitcase. You don't think that there's other copies of that document, either that market equity has or somewhere on the net? Like,
also, like, would those documents be incriminating? Like, would she be stupid enough to print out incriminating documents and keep them with her belongings? Mm-hmm. I don't think she would have been that stupid to be like, oh, here's the contract from when I ordered the hit on John Dutton. Like, I think he probably just shredded something that probably wouldn't implicate him. He was just freaking out about it. But dude, that makes you look so guilty. And how can you be a lawyer and like have such a terrible poker face? Like, you were not made to be a lawyer. You were just made to stay on the ranch.
Absolutely. And so that happened. So the detectives say, okay, you know what's fine. We'll just go get a warrant and come back with a warrant. So that very detective calls Kayce, pretty much gives him an update of what's going on. Like, hey, you know, Sarah Edwards has been killed. And I think your brother either knew something about it or is involved in some form of fashion. If I move forward with this investigation, expect the pedal to the metal, mash the gas, and your brother may be caught in the crossfire. And Kayce is pretty much like, oh well, fuck it. like I wash my hands. I'm over it now. I wash my hands. I'm good. Mm-hmm. My question is to you. When the detective tells Kayce that, my initial thought was, well, if they go after Jamie, what else may come up as far as secrets of the ranch? You know, the train station, all the murders, the cover-ups. Like, I'm surprised that possibility of that coming out didn't scare Kayce, or, you know, I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
He either maybe like didn't think about it, because like the detective's like, okay, is the file in my right hand connected to the file in my left hand? So right now he's just thinking about like the John Dutton murder and the Sarah Atwood murder. Maybe Kayce's not thinking about like, yeah, you're gonna find out everything, but maybe also he doesn't care at this point. He's like, you know, find out what you need to find out and we'll deal with the repercussions. At this point, it's become more of a burden than anything else. So he may or may not be thinking about that. But at this point, especially what we saw from Kayce later in the episode, I think Kayce just wants like for like the fighting to be done and then to be able to just kind of move on with his family, rather than just like keep all these wars going on where people are just going to keep getting hurt.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's a good point. With the ambiguity of like what's going to go on with the ranch, what is your gut feeling? Do you think Kayce takes over? You think Rip takes over? You think they end up just selling the ranch altogether? What is your gut feeling about the ranch and about who takes over?
I think Kayce will want to walk away. That's just kind of my gut feeling, again, from what we've seen in this episode. Whenever he and Tate are at the cemetery and they're talking about burying John, and, you know, Tate's like, you know, where do you want to be buried? And Kayce's like, well, that's up to you. I just want to be home, and home is with you. And Tate's like, is this not our home? And he's like, Kayce's like, nope, this isn't our home anymore. I think Kayce's going to walk away. I think Beth will want to sell it, even though she told like John she would try to keep it together. Again, in previous seasons, she kept on telling John, like, as soon as you die, I'm selling this ranch. Like, she said that multiple times to him throughout the seasons. So I think she'll do her best to maybe like try to keep some of the land, maybe for them to be able to still live, or to be able to, do a little bit of ranching to keep some of the cowboys, there. Lloyd, like, she might not want to like fire him. He's old, right? He may not be able to find another job, but I don't think she'll want to keep all of it. And then I think that may cause a rift between her and Rip, because in the like next episode, like previews, you do kind of see a little bit of a scene between them where he's like, I'm trying to like save this ranch, and you're just maybe like trying to sell it. So I think she'll want to at least sell some of it again to like pay for the taxes that they need to pay, and then she'll try to monetize the rest of it to try to again be able to eke out a living for themselves and a few of the cowboys that might want to stay on.
It's a very interesting point, and shout out too about what Beth's been saying over the last few years to John. My brain's on get mashed up. I can't remember, it was this episode before where Beth is talking to Rip, and Rip's like, I am this ranch. I have no other skill set. I'm pretty much paraphrasing. He's like, this is who I am. This is my life. I think she talked about moving to Utah or moving somewhere else. And he was like, no, this is me. This is who I am. My life is this ranch. And I wonder, because she loves Rip. I mean, that's the love of her life. And I wonder if Rip pleading that and saying that and putting it out in the universe to hear, if that's going to make a change course about at least preserving part of this ranch, aka Rip's livelihood.
Yeah. I don't think like they'll let it come between them, right? Like, I think they've been through a lot and enough to be like, okay, like, we got to figure this out. But I think Rip might be then starting to see like, okay, like, this ranch is everything that I know, but like maybe there's like something new to like move forward, right? Like, this way of living, it's just full of like sadness and it's hard. And he talks about like all the guilt that he feels. Maybe if you move away from the ranch, or if you at least sell some of the ranch, that some of that guilt might leave you, because a lot of the shit that you did and a lot of the people that you killed were because of the ranch and because of John, right? It wasn't because Rip is like a cold sociopathic killer that just wanted to kill people. He did it because he felt like that's what there was good for the ranch, or good for John, or protecting John or Beth, or whoever. So I think he might be starting to feel like this is a lot of guilt. Like, maybe there is something else. So I don't know. Because when he is talking to Beth, when he threw that glass of whiskey and he's like angry about Colby's death, he's like, one day this life is going to kill me too. So hopefully he's seeing that being a cowboy is hard, especially on the Dutton Ranch. So maybe get out while you're still alive.
Speaking of guilt, let's talk about Carter. He had the opportunity to show a lot of range in this episode due to the result of his actions or lack thereof. I've been saying I've been wanting to see more Carter Beth Rip dynamic, and I feel like when I said that it was almost non-existent, and now for like 3 episodes in a row we've gotten like that dynamic, whether it was Carter and Rip, or Rip and Beth and we're talking about Carter, or Beth and Carter. We're not seeing this connection, for 3 straight episodes now. I feel bad for Carter, man. I really do, because just the episode before, he talks about how John Dutton's death had affected him. Like, people keep leaving him. Like every time he had, his family doesn't want him. Or if they die off or they leave or whatever. and the bunkhouse has pretty much has become his family for the most part.
Mm.
And now that he feels guilty that the result of Colby's death is on his head, he's carrying that guilt now. And I, for one, I love the parental leadership that both Rip and Beth showed.
Yeah.
And I'm not even gonna say just for them. Like, I know Beth and Rip can be emotionally stunted at times, but to like really come out and show leadership and protection and guiding and say, hey, this is not your fault. I'm
Yeah.
talking about Rip. It's my fault because I kept that horse longer than I should have. I should have sold that horse weeks ago or days ago. I should have never sent you in there to deal with the horse. And just seeing Rip for 2 straight episodes now, kind of like show that fatherly DNA in the system now. Talking to Carter, I can get 10 more scenes of that, man. To me adds more value to the show than anything else. Because Rip and Beth are two people who have been through so much, and because of the emotional scarring and damage that they had succumbed to throughout their life, they don't know how to showcase emotion or to show grace or give themselves grace at times. So to see that from Beth and Rip dealing with Carter, I thought was beautiful. The Beth Carter scene to me was MVP insofar as like conversations in this season so far. Like that, I feel like we needed that from Beth, because Beth is fire and brimstone, right? Like she's scorching the path that she walks on.
Yeah.
And to show the development between that conversation she had with Carter compared to the very first conversation she had with Carter at the hospital.
Yeah.
You see so much growth and how he talks to him. You see so much growth in how she consoles him. And the ending scene, the last line when Beth says you need to be with your family, and she says, I have no family. She's like, of course you do. It was just so matter of factly. I can't imagine Beth ever saying that in any of the previous seasons. So
yeah,
to that growth, man. Rip, Carter, and Beth for sure.
What I thought about this episode was, imagine if this is the Beth Dutton that we would have gotten. Obviously, the show would have been a lot different, right? And a lot of people love crazy ass Beth, right? Like, she's fun to watch. But also, like, Kelly Reilly did such a good job in this episode of showing us like a compassionate Beth, a Beth that can be there for people when they are hurt and like not shy away from the emotion, right? Like, she had to show emotion in that conversation with Carter and letting him know that it wasn't his fault. Right? Because she knows a thing or two about guilt, about getting somebody killed, right? She's been through that. So having that conversation with him, that scene with Lloyd when they're packing up Colby's things was also really sweet. And then her interactions with Monica in this episode were also just very real. So again, I just thought like this would have been also a great type of Beth Dutton to see, right? Like somebody that still like goes hard for her family, and like is fierce and strong, but maybe not necessarily crazy ass psychotic Beth Dutton. I think that could have also made like a really great show and a really great character. And I'm glad that we got to see some of it. Even if the show's almost over, we got to see a little glimpse of that type of Beth. And maybe like having John be gone and the possibility of not having the weight of having to keep the stupid ranch might calm her down a little bit. Like maybe this is future Beth, and like future Beth is calm, and maybe that's what she needs right now. Maybe that's what Carter needs.
One thing, a point I want to bring up too, why I love that scene between Beth and Carter so much, is that I saw that as symmetry, Marcy, and let me explain. So one of the flashbacks, I want to say season 2, where you see the flashback of how their mother died, right? And how Beth felt like she was to blame. Do you remember what the mother told Beth right before she died?
I didn't rewatch that scene, but I rewatched a scene where she's talking about it, and she said, you know, with my mother with no love in her with no love in her heart pretty much said like, this is your fault. So like that's the last thing she heard from her mom, which is terrible.
So the mother, I can't remember, I think it's Elizabeth, I can't remember her name, or Evelyn, I think it's Evelyn Dutton.
Evelyn, yeah.
Yeah, when she sent Kayce back to go get John and go help John, she tells her daughter, her only daughter, this is your fault. And you have to fix this as she's dying. And I think when Carter goes through that and Beth's talking to him, I think the way Beth is talking to Carter is, I feel like, is the way that Beth would have wanted Evelyn to talk to her after such a dark and gloom scenario that took place. And when I saw that, I was like, man, that's a beautiful symmetry of like Beth taking what she experienced and making sure that no other child will ever experience what she experienced. Because you can tell to this day, like a lot of that anger, man, is like just unresolved issues with her mother. And then those dearly departed words right before she died, that sticks with you. And I think Beth chose her words carefully. The way she even spoke in that room to Carter, she chose her words so carefully because she didn't want Carter to feel any more guilt than what he already feels. And I thought that was such a, for as much bitching I've done about Taylor this season, I thought that conversation, that scene, was just a beautiful scene so far as symmetry to what Beth experienced, and make sure that if Beth ever has a chance to become a mother, whether it's through adoption or anything, that she would do right by that child by giving that child something she never had, which was, just a loving mother that wants the best for their child.
Yeah, like somebody that's compassionate, like, right? Like we didn't see a lot of that from her mother, even when like Beth gets her period when she's a teenager, and the mom's like, now I'm gonna have to like be harder on you, right? Like you're already going through something so crappy to go through as a teenage girl. And then your mom's like, well, I'm just gonna be harder on you. Like, so like I apologize in advance. But yeah, like I think a lot of that really shaped who Beth is now. And she probably has like other psychological issues, right? Like she needs meds for sure. But I wonder how different Beth could have turned out. Not only if she hadn't gone through that trauma, but if her mother hadn't said that as she was dying, right? Like you could have still gone through that trauma, but not taken it so hard as like your mom telling you, like, basically, you killed me. Good job.
Well, it's weird because like when you look in some of in the few scenes that we see Evelyn in these flashbacks, she comes off as a very brash, cold woman. Not, and like, so when you go to present day and the main timeline of this series, and you look at the current women that John Dunn fucks with, whether it's Lynette, the senator, she's very caring and soft and smart and like loving. Whether it's the vegan chick that she's not like Summer. Yeah. Like none of the women that John messes with are like his wife. His wife is cold-blooded, calculated, mean, and I'm like, when did this change? Like, I guess after loss, do you just totally just change course emotionally and like date people that are opposite your wife? I guess of what you've lost, because none of those women are like his past wife. None of them are.
Yeah, I think probably that's why. Like, right? Like he like even like a few seasons ago, he was talked about how much he missed his wife, and he's like, "Damn you for leaving me," right? Like he still has it bad for Evelyn Dutton. So I think nobody was going to live up to her. So I think he maybe like picked women who were also strong women, right? Like Linnell and Summer are strong women, but they're, like you said, they're kinder, they're more compassionate, they're less calculating, they have more tact. So I think maybe that's why he went after them, right? Like, and like they were just there as well. Like, I don't think he went out looking for women. I think he was just in situations with these women, and then like things happened again because he was just still so down bad for his wife who died like 20 years ago.
Yeah. So we get another appearance by Kay McPherson, Kayce's old comrade from the military, and we get more Black Ops Kayce. So
yeah.
So Kayce gets word about who ordered the hit, or who had orchestrated the hit. gets the full detail of the guy's name. The guy's name is Grant. Who he works for, all of that. And Kayce decides to go hunting, and he approaches Grant as he's walking off the soccer field with his daughter.
Yeah, so sweet.
Yeah, so sweet. I'm not gonna lie, man. From the way Taylor's been writing this season, I would not be surprised if Kayce had put a bullet in both their heads. Because I don't know where the story's going. And
Yeah.
It would have been totally against Casey's mantra and like his persona as a character and what he's built in his character arc. But was it just me, or did you have a feeling where that scene was going? Because I did not.
I also did not. I seriously thought like he was going to at least kill Grant. I didn't know if he would kill the daughter, right? Like, I don't think we'd get like that kind of crazy Kayce, even though we know that that's what he used to do. And like, he has accidentally like killed a target and their kid before. And like, that weighs on him. I didn't know what was going to happen when he didn't kill him. I was like, oh, okay, like this is what's happening. And like, it makes sense. But when I saw that Grant is a girls team soccer coach, I was like, what the fuck? Like, that was just so strange and also scary to think that you definitely don't know people, and like somebody that can like be sweet and kind and caring and like a pillar to the community can be like a motherfucking asshole that like gets people killed, right? I was like, damn, that thought's gonna linger with me a while, and I'm gonna look at everybody sideways for a while. But I definitely understand why Kayce didn't kill him and was like, hey, we're making a deal. I have found you now, and I could kill you and your family, but I'm not going to, because you're gonna leave me and my family alone. But also, like, you are so dumb. Like, did you not do like research and recon on all of John's family? Like, why are you surprised who I am? Like, you don't know who I am. Like, you were trained better than this.
And then, like, why would you hire a service or hire somebody to orchestrate a hit that lives in Bozeman? Was that Bozeman?
No, they were in Texas.
Oh,
the license
okay.
was like Texas. Yeah, I noticed that. I was like, oh, so it might be like that company, that outfit
Houston?
that Cade was talking about in Houston. I was like, oh, on the second rewatch, I noticed that it was Texas plates on all the cars. So I was like, oh, okay. So he had to travel. He wasn't just like driving down the street. So he had to like travel down here to Texas.
Yeah, because he told Monica he'll be back tomorrow night, the next day. I'm like, damn, bro, you doing a 24-hour trip that quickly? God damn. Yeah, that scene, I didn't have a problem with it. I guess it's one of those things where I have to just wait it out to see where it goes to, because had he had killed Grant, knowing Kayce's Black Ops experience, and like they would never have figured out it was him. I think Kayce could have killed that dude, and it would have never been traced back to Kayce, because nobody knows. I guess the connection between nobody knows the Black Ops company, for one, and then nobody knows that Kayce, because they didn't do their homework. They had no idea who Kayce even was. So yeah. Kayce could have got away and murdered that dude and went on his happy way back to Bozeman. And again, and that's another problem I have with this writing, is that you spend $40 to $50 million to hit this governor off. They fumble the bag on like the suicide attempt, or making it look like a suicide. They fumble the bag and not doing recon on the family. And then the guy has no idea who Kayce even is. It's like, did you hire the Walmart version of Black Ops, like the Great Value, like
Great Value,
like,
Hitmen, and also you
spent $80 million, we spent $40 for half the work. Like what? I don't know, man.
Like, you also kill Sarah Atwood, which like you did it to like make sure that like that connection was like destroyed. But also that's what made the investigator be like, hey, Sarah Atwood murder, John Dutton murder, like maybe they're related. Now you've like put the spotlight back on yourself. Like, I think it was the Great Valley like hitman company. So like we have Sarah to blame for that because like it seems like she's the one who picked the company.
Had
Girl
to
could have
have.
picked better. She might still be alive.
Because even with Sarah's death, like if 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 you're a company that's trying to frame something as for what it's not for what it's not really not. If you're gonna make a carjacking, why don't you steal her wallet, steal her purse, break the glass of the car, like show some type of force of entry on the car to make it look like a carjacking. Then
Yeah.
they shot it execution style and just
And
drove
yeah,
off.
in the head and then in the chest. Like, yeah.
Yeah, it just seems like they look like elementary Mickey Mouse operation. Like I don't understand how you can spend that kind of money. And Market Equity got bread. They're a billion-dollar corporation, and you come off and hire these motherfuckers. Or I don't know, man. I struggle with that with this whole Hitman scene or Hitman storyline.
And then I mean, like, there was nobody else on the road whenever, like, they killed Sarah. And again, like you mentioned, like, they hit her in the head and then, like, circle in the chest. Like, carjackers don't typically, like, do those kinds of kill shots. So, yeah, I would have saved my receipts and gotten my money back. Like, no way, no way that I'm not satisfied with the service. 0 stars. What the fuck?
Yeah. Now the title of this episode is called "Counting Coup," and I know Marcy, you did some excellent research on the term "counting coup," which is a Native American term, because we know Mo, and after the encounter with Grant, Kayce gets in the car with Mo as they drive off, and they talk about the counting coup. We talk about what that means and the title of the show of this episode.
I had to look it up because I didn't know what it was. So when I saw the title, I was like, that's interesting. And then when he and Mo were talking about it, so like based on like my extensive Google research, counting coup was something that some of like the Plains Native American tribes did. They would, I guess, like get as close to killing their enemy or torture them as close to death as they could without actually killing them. So that's what it was to like count coup, right? Like you scare them, like you're gonna kill them, and then you don't. So that's pretty much what we saw Kayce doing. And I was happy to see Mo again. I just love his character, especially like how much of a mentor he's been to Kayce, and how much he's just kind of like taught him, right, about here's how you figure out what it is that you're wrestling with. So based on like Mo's guidance, Kayce was then able to decide like, okay, I didn't know what my dreams meant. I didn't know what I needed to do. Now I know, and now he's done it. And I think he feels like he'll be free of it. Hopefully he will, but we don't know.
I don't know, man. I'm nervous for Kayce. It just seems like he's on a road where only death can bring him peace, and I don't, because he's been haunted of this vision for the last 2 seasons now. I want to say, and I don't know if Kayce sees it as the only way I can have peace is death, because I have so much shit I'm carrying from being in the military, so much shit I'm carrying of being John Dutton's son, what I put my family through, Monica and Tate, like knowing that they're protected is when I can finally rest. And I hope I'm wrong, but I don't know, man. Taylor's been on a murder streak these last few episodes, and I don't know if the Duttons are safe as far as like them making to the finale unscathed.
Because they also have other enemies, right? It's not just market equities. Throughout the whole show, they've had other enemies. So then do you think it's a little bit of foreshadowing when Tate and Kayce were, at the family plot on the ranch, and they're talking about like, how do you want to be buried? And like, talking about death and like burying Kayce, and then Tate says, well, I don't want to bury you anywhere, and Kayce says like, well, like you better, because I couldn't survive the alternative, which means like I couldn't survive it if you died. Do you think there will be some foreshadowing as to Kayce maybe does die and then Tate does have to like bury him? Or do you think that was just kind of like beautiful poetic writing by Taylor Sheridan?
That's what I took out of it. I took foreshadowing, because it's the second time in as many episodes they talk about family legacy and like the potential end and where we go from here. And it'll be fucked. It'll piss me off, but it just seems like Kayce is a troubled character who's looking for peace. And when he's talking about burying and plots, and I don't know, I don't feel good for Kayce's character, and I think Kayce goes down in a blaze of glory. I think Grant is gonna call the dogs and like they're gonna do the research on the Dutton family, and I think we're gonna get more casualties on Dutton Ranch.
I definitely think we'll get more casualties on the Dutton Ranch. I think we talked about this on the first pod of this part of the season, right? Like we knew John had died. We were like, there's got to like be more deaths. Like they can't just be one death throughout the season. I hope not, because there's just nobody on the show that I would want to die. As much as like I hate Jamie, like I think it would also just still be a cop out to kill him. Like, right, like let him face the consequences of his actions. That is what more people need to have happen. Like more people need to like have consequences for their actions. So I think that would be great. Yeah, I really hope Kayce doesn't die. Like I hope it is a new beginning for him and Monica and for Tate to just like move on, right? Like you were happy before you had to come back when Lee died and like your father needed you. Like you were happy living with Monica and her family. Like go back to that. Like go be a part of like the tribe. They will take you in. They love you. Mo can be like your father figure, big brother figure. Just walk away from it, Kayce. It is not worth it.
Yeah. I have one question about Jamie. Do you think? I think the best ending for Jamie is prison. I think the reporter murder should come back up. This shit should come back up. I feel like Beth is cooking some things up to where that guy gets prison for life. I don't, because I agree with you. I think death is too easy. I want to see Jamie suffer, and I think paying for that, whether it's through prison time or just never-ending torture. I think the sins of the father should catch up to him and really just end him in that form of fashion, and not just getting shot or dying, but like just a never-ending suffering.
Yeah, in prison, surrounded by big scary dudes, and you're like a punk ass bitch. Yeah, I mean, and then doesn't also Beth still have that proof that he had killed Garrett, or his dad, and kind of taken him to the train station? I think she might weigh it a little bit, because just as she has evidence and shit on him, like he also has that on the family, which is what she said. I think the last episode was like, if they go after him, like he's going to like pretty much snitch to save his ass, and like, tell all the secrets of John. His legacy will be ruined. So she knows he may have dirt on like Rip, on Kayce, but I think she might like be weighing that, like, if I snitch on him, like he's gonna snitch on Rip. And we know like Rip's hands are not clean, and neither are Kayce's. They also have some murders under their belt. So I don't know. Maybe everybody's gonna be facing consequences at the end.
Yeah. Do you think Jamie's son show, like that storyline pops back up in the next 2 episodes?
I mean, it better, because did we get an explanation as to where they went? Like one season they were there and then they were gone. Like I think even like before like his dad got killed. No, it was after, because he still had the car seat when at the, what was it, the first part of this season where he has to go bailed Beth out of jail when she beats up that chick at the bar. So I don't think they ever explained it. Maybe they did and I missed it, but maybe like he'll want to claim that he's like a Dutton heir, but who knows? There are other people that think we might see Summer return pregnant and have another Dutton heir. I mean, at this point, like, how much Dutton money is there left anyway? Like, we care about Dutton heirs at this point. Like, just let Tate have it. He has to pay the inheritance taxes anyway.
And tastes like his dad, man. He doesn't want any of this shit. He just wants to go.
He doesn't want it. Yeah, he's like, no, like I thought I'd work here, but I didn't think about running it. Like running it is what got John killed. Like, I don't want that.
Yeah. Man, is there anything else you want to cover about this episode? What are your thoughts?
No, I mean, I think again, the last 2 episodes, I hope it is more of like moving the story forward. I don't want him to kill off any more characters that we love. So if he kills off Lloyd or Jimmy or anybody else, I will riot because what the fuck? Do not do that. Yeah, and just I want to see like I know like not to expect this, right? Because any of Taylor's things, like you don't expect happy endings. Sicario, Hell or High Water, Wind River, like none of those have happy endings, right?
Yeah.
Like that is not his jam. But at least like Teeter, can she have like some kind of like happy ending, even without Colby, right? Like some closure and like something to look forward to. Also like Walker, like can they just like let him leave the ranch with like his girlfriend, the barrel racer? Like he also has been through a lot. Like just let them leave. Don't like make them stay loyal to this ranch that's pretty much like burning up. So
yeah,
no more deaths of people that we like, only of people that we hate.
I think it's gonna be a lot more deaths. I don't
Probably.
Yeah, Taylor's been on that bullshit the last few weeks, man. I don't know. I don't think anybody's safe. I think a Dutton may die as well.
I think M Moves agrees with you. They are probably taking out everybody. Do you think, I mean, you've already talked about like maybe Kayce dies. What about Rip? He's also talked about like one day this job's going to kill me. He said it multiple times, including this episode. What do you think of that? And if that happens, would Beth be able to survive that?
I'll go a step further. If Rip dies, I think Beth dies too. I don't think they both. Yeah. If one of them die, they both die. I don't see both of them surviving. I mean, I don't see just one dying. I think they're so attached to the hip that if either one of the other dies, the other one's going to go scorch earth and die in the process of trying to get revenge.
Yeah. Hopefully that doesn't happen because we still have Carter, who is still an orphan, an underage orphan that would go into the system unless Lloyd adopts him.
Taylor asshole, man. I think Taylor will make. I think Taylor will have no problem making that kid an orphan again.
Right, like he would relish in it. He'd be like, "Yes, another like storyline that makes all these people cry."
Right. Well, that's it from us today. Again, thank y'all so much for watching today. Again, like, share, subscribe. Hit that notification button for all upcoming episodes of different shows that we're covering. If you have any shows that you want to cover, let us know as well. Again, road to 500. Last I checked, we have 420 subscribers. So let's get 80 more and let's keep it going. Follow us on social media as well. Links are in the description down below.
And then also, if we want to plug 1923, they're going to be re-airing it on Paramount. So go back and listen to our 1923 pods from 2 years ago, because that's the last fucking time we saw 1923. Go back and listen and tell all your friends to follow if you're going to be rewatching 1923.
Oh, man, I love that show so much. I'm going to go back and rewatch that as well. And speaking of more podcasts, we have Landman popping up tomorrow on our podcast, 7 p.m. Central Time. We're going to cover episodes 1, 2, and 3. So we're going to plan to do like every 3 episodes, a podcast episode on that. So check out our audio podcast as well on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Again, thank you so much again for watching tonight. For Marcy and for myself, we'll see y'all later.